We are live. So what we're doing is we're talking about Panda and Penguin algorithms. We're talking about search quality and how to deal with this if you're a webmaster running a website, and also if you're affected, what's the best way to get around it or to get ahead. So basically, what I've got here is a slide indicating two algorithmic additions to Google's overall algorithm called Panda and Penguin, which are basically part of Google's search quality framework. One is dedicated to content quality, and the other one is dedicated to something that we could describe as, link schemes and cheating. So basically, the reason I have Panda a little bit small and Penguin a little bit bigger, because Penguin seems to be shaking things a little bit more vigorously than Panda. A lot of people are noticing a lot of stuff happening. Okay, so for those who are not familiar, Mark, I'm just gonna. Okay, somebody already muted you, so if you want to talk, just unmute yourself. Okay, so basically, for those who are not familiar, Panda has been named after Navneet Panda, who is a engineer at Google, a man who's actually designed and created the algorithm that looks for low quality pages. And Penguin is, of course, I think just Danny Sullivan's invention, just goes along with the black and white animal trend. So basically, what are these search algorithms looking for? What are these filters looking for? What's the type of stuff that they don't like? Well, one specifically related to Panda, I guess, is index bloating, or what I call index bloating. Basically, creation of thin, automated, repetitive content pages. And I think most people in the Hangout will agree that this is sort of a first point of call when Panda algorithm looks for something. It looks for websites with heaps and heaps of content that is of really low quality and doesn't really offer any unique value. Now, recently we've had discussions and even conversations with people like John Mueller from Google, and we've learned that duplicate content, duplicate pages are not necessarily always a problem. You don't necessarily get penalized or filtered out for these, because if you have a look at the index section in index stat section in Google Webmasters Tools, you can see that they're simply ignoring some of those links, and everything else is fine. But if you happen to have website structure where you're trying to inject a lot of different pages, a lot of search results, automated text, kind of like spinning and keyword and variable-driven pages that offer very little unique value, that is the type of stuff that will definitely trigger the filter. And I think for those who haven't read this article, if there are such webmasters or SEOs who haven't, highly recommend. So I'll bring up the screen once again. More guidance on building high-quality sites. This is a perfect article to read for everyone who's trying to understand why their website may be affected by Panda algorithm. Basically, I think this was written by Amit Singhal, if I'm not wrong, and basically outlines everything that can go wrong with a website in terms of quality, but also highlights what can be done to create a high-quality website. So basically, another instance is, as I mentioned here, creating these pages for SEO, right? There's this notion that, oh yeah, I have a product and service, and I'm going to try to rank for every suburb and every city in the country for that particular product. That's kind of a bad strategy unless you have really, really good content and useful content for the user. This strategy is definitely outdated, and it's no longer, the objective is no longer to have as many pages in index as you can. In fact, it could be a bad thing. Okay, so let's just quickly, don't bloat Google's index. Have fewer pages, merge them, trim them, canonicalize them into fewer, higher quality pages to avoid any troubles in the future. Classic example, over-optimization. For starters, Penguin-related inbound links, watch out for inbound links, what type of websites are they coming from, what anchor text is being used. Obviously, if you overdo your own anchor text, and you know, some webmasters have been noticing 50-60%. Apparently, Google says it's not really the percentage. We take number of factors in, but a lot of people have been noticing if you know half or more of your anchor text exactly what you're trying to rank for, you're probably waving a red flag, asking for Penguin to come and get you. Another thing that's quite dangerous is you know, any on-page tricks, you know, old school stuff, minimal text to stuff keywords in, and you know, cloaking and all that sort of stuff. So that's the basic guidelines are there, Webmasters guidelines, that's the URL there. If you just search that, you will find it. So that's a really basic one. Where it gets a little bit tricky, and this is definitely Penguin waters. So if you're trying to think about cheating the link signal and using any way of automation, including blog networks and spam and commenting, pretty much any mass scale clever tactics, what raises the flag with Google and probably other search engines as well. This includes widget bait as well. So basically, when webmasters figured out, okay, links, you can't really buy them, you know, so let's get a bit clever. So they started pumping out infographics. They started doing little widgets, offering them to webmasters to host on their content. But the problem when widget becomes problematic is if you stuff the widget code with your keyword that you're trying to rank for. So the objective of that widget is no longer to be useful and to bring traffic to your site, but in fact it is to pump that anchor text through to your site, which is a problem. JCPenney is a classic example where they offered, you know, discounts in return for edu links. What they've done basically was publicly available pages, and are doing that on a mass scale. I believe a lot of small fish are still doing little schemy things, but sort of getting away. As soon as you start affecting a lot of users, as soon as you start doing this on a mass scale, that's when you get in trouble. So basically, if you, I wrote an article that really goes through link schemes in detail and kind of outlines why they don't work. Like anyone else, I've considered, you know, what can we do? Sort of, it's a nice idea, I guess, not nice, but kind of like a lucrative idea. Let's plug us into this network of links and have us rank and our clients rank. But after careful analysis, I've realized that to build a perfect link network, a perfect scheme, you would need to invest as much money and effort than doing the white hat thing if you want to be absolutely, completely bulletproof in it. So my idea is I would rather invest in my content. So this is one article that I've written on SEO Moz, why link schemes fail. And I recommend for all those who are still considering scheming around with links, read this first and maybe you change your mind about it. And of course, user experience is another factor that hasn't always been there. So ad placement, bad user experience has become a search quality factor. There's a really good article on Google Webmaster Central, page layout algorithm improvement, if you want to read up on that. So if you think you're affected, what can be done? Well, first of all, what are the reasons that your traffic or your rankings may be affected? 80%, 90% of the time, it's probably just technical problems. It's just nothing else than technical problems. And then, of course, you could have algorithmic filters, not necessarily a penalty or action. You're just not ranking what you used to because the way Google does things has changed. And then, of course, we've got manual action when somebody's spotted that you've done something that you shouldn't and you've been affected. And there's of course things like complete website ban, which seems to be a bit rare action, but still happens for high offenders. So what can be done if you're affected? Now this is not really an official document or anything, that coming from Google or anything like that. But this is kind of a framework that I propose when you're trying to debug and understand what's going on. So first point of thinking is, has my traffic and have my rankings been affected? Yes, no. So if the answer is no, then you should probably go to Google Webmasters Tools and check, because we're auditing pretty much now for any problems. Have you received a link warning? If you have not received a link warning in Webmasters Tools, then run a preventative link audit just to make sure that there's nothing funny going on. If you have received a link warning, run a selective link audit. See if any of your pages and keywords have already been affected from what they used to rank. Once you identify what those pages are, run the link removal, document everything you've done, and optionally, of course, do a reconsideration request, keeping in mind your rankings have not been affected just yet. Okay, so if your rankings and traffic have been affected, first thing you should do is run a technical audit, because more than likely it's probably not anything, unless you're absolutely sure that you've been scheming around. Run a technical audit. Have you found any technical issues? If you found technical issues, fix them, wait, go back, and see if the problems is still there, and run the whole process again. If there are no known or visible technical issues, then try to understand if the scope of the penalty or manual action or effect this has had on your traffic and rankings is site-wide or not. If it has been affected site-wide, you are trying to ascertain whether your website has been de-indexed or not. If your website has been de-indexed, that you're looking at a pretty severe sort of action. You still have the option of running the link removal, documenting and submitting a reconsideration request, but I would argue that your domain is probably burnt. Now, if you're not de-indexed, then you're running into actually this particular diagram has an error. If you haven't been de-indexed but you've affected site-wide, then you probably don't need to determine which keywords and pages have been affected, because it's site-wide action. So I would go straight to link removal, and then the most important thing is document everything that you do. Document successful removals, document unsuccessful removals, who you've contacted and what they said to you, and then once you're ready, once you've done everything you can, doing the reconsideration request. If the WebSpan team comes back to you and says, we still found problems, then you can go back and maybe look for some more. Look something that didn't appear to you as the main problem. Okay, and finally, I'm hearing this quite often is, should I throw away my domain? Well, the answer is yes. Sometimes there's really no other option, and if you're weighing your options, am I going to spend $50,000 and 6 months on cleanup, or if it's just going to be easier for me to rebuild from scratch and think twice when you're about to start scheming? Now, I know some people may, perhaps Jim, you might not agree with this, but I think it's just a fact that you might have to rebuild if you've done some really sort of complex scheming and cheating. By the way, if you
suggesting I did anything complex, I'm a simple man.
I don't think so. I don't think so. By the way, have you ever received any straight answer from Google as to, okay, you've got this particular problem? Did they say it's links?
I haven't even had an unnatural links warning or any type of low quality warning. Any of
that's what you were
messages.
thinking, Mayday.
Yeah, I haven't received any of those. Yeah, so even though I know that from looking at our links that what I've got would kill an elephant site, I noticed that there's one with 100,000 links pointing to us. Yeah,
but that's from a single domain, right?
Pardon?
That's 100,000 links from a single domain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
That's still links. That's still links from one domain. I mean, it's not as bad as if 100,000 bad websites were linking to you. That would be a problem.
Yeah, but I used, there was a bit of a kerfuffle on the forum the other day about a tool called Link Detox, and I downloaded it and tried it yesterday. Brilliant, I think. You know, it shows me that, you know, we've probably got 1,000 links that, you know, they're really bad links. You know, I mean, nobody in their right mind would build them. You'd only build them if you wanted to hurt someone.
Yeah, some people just don't know. This is the problem that I'm talking about. People go to seminars, they buy these DVDs and on eBay, you know, SEO advice, and they get into all sorts of schemes, and they're not actually aware that they're in breach of Google's guidelines. That's the primary problem that we're facing. I've been to some presentations where people have been telling webmasters absolute rubbish, and I just wanted to stand up and say, "Oh my God, people! Are you serious? Is this the advice you're giving others?" I mean, Carol wants to hear my opinion on a negative SEO. Can bad links hurt? There are some cases where it's happened. I don't think it's as frequent as others think it is. I think I think who's susceptible to negative SEO is people who've already been scheming in the past, and their backlink profile is already compromised to some level, and maybe there's some remark in the back end. Now somebody can push you over the edge perhaps with something extra. I think if you have a completely clean link profile and suddenly somebody does an X-rammer on you, I don't think that has any effect. In fact, on our website, we've had somebody's been running actively X-rammer campaign. We've got links in all sorts of blog comments and things. And one interesting thing, I can share this with you now that we've identified. If you guys remember, there's been that second email that Matt Cutts had to explain what happened, where they sent out some 20,000 notifications of unnatural links where they still trust the website, but they're just telling us that, you know, the unnatural links are there. So we went to investigate what took place, and we found that we had a page on our website that was talking about a particular law firm. I actually did like a seminar on their at their office, and we wrote something on about what happened. So that was maybe ranking on the second page of results for their brand name. Now, what seems to be the attempt of reputation management, somebody was linking to our page to boost that page to get it to page 1 of the results for their brand name, maybe to push something down in the results, right? And as a result, we got links from all sorts of websites and all sorts of pages. What we did in that case, we were lucky enough, this wasn't our homepage, we just 404'd that page. And that's the easiest way you can remove all the bad links pointing into that URL. Just get rid of the page. If you 301 that page or do anything else with it, it's still going to transfer those bad signals across. So that's one thing we did. 301 to a competitor to talk about ethics. Oh boy, Tony, you have some ideas. Not working, Carol says. He tried, obviously. Oh boy. Okay. Let's move on. I've got a few more slides I want to go through. Here's some pro tips, stuff we've learned from discussions with from Google and from other webmasters. Here's some time savers when cleaning up your stuff. A lot of people don't realize that or speculate that no follow links can still help you rank and no follow links can harm you. Well, Google says, unless they are lying to us, which I don't think they are, no follow links cannot help you rank and they cannot harm you, period. There's been some isolated cases where Google doesn't figure it out that it's a no follow, and then it can act. But again, we're talking about a very, very sort of rare case. So if you've been affected by a Penguin algorithm and you're going cleaning up rel equals no follow links, you probably have better things to do with your time. Okay, next one. Links from de-indexed networks. ALN, what's the other one? Build My Rank and such. If they've been punished by Google and de-indexed by Google's action, they no longer have the capacity to help or harm your rankings. But so you should remove them at some point, not maybe as a matter of urgency, but you can remove them because there is a potential that they might get re-included. I'm saying this is unlikely, but they could get re-included at some point and then start harming your website's rankings again. Google Webmasters tools. Google tells us that you don't have to pay for other tools and all these fancy software packages. It's good enough to go through your links in Google Webmasters tools and clean up what's in there and submit your reconsideration request. There's no need to pay for all these other fancy tools. And finally, don't remove all of your links, for Christ's sake. I've seen people sort of do knee-jerk reactions and just kill everything, remove everything. You're actually removing the good and the bad and what you're not sure about. I think that's the reason why Google hasn't created the link disavow tool, because people would probably just go punch everything in and actually do more harm than good. So that's definitely one tip. Don't just delete everything. Okay, so now Carol says, Dan, how can you tell which link is good and which is bad? I think you know yourself. Like, the bad links are the ones that you created yourself and they're part of a scheme. You paid for them, or you did some sort of automated submission, or all these local things. You know that they're bad because you've done them yourself. They're not created by Google. Keeps saying this. A link should be given as a choice of another webmaster. There should not be any incentive, right? We know that that's not quite black and white, that there's always borderline cases, but I think most of us know when we've done something to push that link to happen where it starts breaching the guidelines. So Thomas says, good point. Okay, so how can algorithm know this? Penguin is not just kind of like, it's not a human. They're looking at patterns. They're looking at correlation. They're looking at a variety of signals. I can show you something actually. Okay, let's go through this. Let's go through this. Let's step it up. So we're getting algorithm questions. All right. Okay. Okay. Let's do it then. Okay. So we touched on the 80 legs tool in the past. I talked about it before, and let's go over it now. So this is how you can recreate Google yourself, pretty much. 80 legs for $2.50 will give you 1 million links crawled, right? Which is pretty cheap. So what you can do is basically give it your domain and tell it to scan anything that links to you, or any number of commands. So you can give it an entire seed list. What I've done recently is I've received one of those. When you receive an email and it says, "Hey, this is our network. For $500, we'll give you 1,000 links or whatever, even cheaper than that." So they actually sent me an entire Excel file with the entire network in it. So what I've done in it with that, I've actually sent 80 legs to crawl it, and I just created a mini link graph from their entire link network. And after that, I'll just share my screen with you again. I put that into Gephi, of course, and I ran a PageRank projection through that, and I was, playing around with that to see what would happen. So when you're running your link audit, and perhaps when Google's running link audit, we're seeing stuff that negatively impacts, the stuff that looks like schemes, the stuff that's full of obvious patterns. And there are things that Google just filters out. There's things that Google just kind of ignores, right? That's your, this is the, okay, manual action material. This is the, we can see some bad links, but we're still trusting your site. It's just getting filtered out. And there are some links that are really nice and positive. So what I did, this is the Excel sheet that I received from the link seller, and I put it into a Gephi, and I was observing what happens. So as you can see here, there is a I guess a collection of related sites. They're all linked to each other, right? And there are little subnets that you can identify there, right? And depending on which transformation of this sub-link graph you use, this will give you an idea whether there are any artificial linking structures there. I mean, look at this. This site links to that one. This site links to that one. That site links to that one. It's like, it's really weird. If you compare this against a normal link structure, then you will see some pretty big differences. Like, this sort of stuff can happen. The well-linked sites and sites that link out to others, generally known as hubs and authorities. There's nothing wrong with this. But if you start seeing little clusters and little, you could see problems as well. So the idea is a normal link profile. I think, okay, Carl, I'll show you a normal link profile. I think it's normal. Okay, so the idea with this is to delete the pages that these links are pointing on, or delete the links if you can, or correct if there's room for improvement. Maybe you can make sure that widget is not using the manipulative anchor text, or maybe you can move them somewhere else. So that's your top liabilities. So this is one that I colored it green. You can still see a lot of similarities here. One that I'd be suspicious about is this little cluster here. Now, I'm not exactly sure what sort of transformation I've used for this, but things generally tend to be a little bit more spiderwebby, but there's still this cluster in the middle, which in this case I think I knew that this was a natural one. So the idea behind defining your best quality links is you want to figure out where they're pointing to, and where they're pointing to, that's your link worthy assets. It's simple to find what these are. Is you just go to your Google Webmasters tools and find which pages are most linked, and then you double or triple the amount of those pages, because that's what your users want to see. So if you create more of that content, you're likely to get more links. So moving forward, people may remember this article. What I'm proposing is collect as much data as you can, discover where the highest potential things are, prioritize your work, focus on key areas, implement, evaluate, and go back to your data and repeat the cycle again and again. So getting your data through any number of methods like this, prioritizing your work. People, like, the reason that webmasters often go wrong is they try to cover everything at once. It's like, let's do everything, and then you go, oh, how can I do this? And then that's where ideas for scheming arise. I would argue, if you like in that slide that I showed you before, I would argue that if you run into a bunch of rocks there and you see a few little golden nuggets in there, well, which one would you pick up first? I would go for gold. So that's basically, I talked about our phrase potential calculator. You go through your keywords and your pages, and you figure out which one has the highest potential, highest revenue potential, and you focus on those. Do one at a time and write good quality for it. Try to earn natural links rather than just blasting everything at once. So the idea is to focus, implement, evaluate, and like those who haven't read the article, I really recommend just search for e-commerce SEO, and you'll see one of my articles, and that one's got some good ideas in terms of link building especially for e-commerce websites. So things to do. Google Plus becoming a significant signal. They're saying don't get too excited about pluses just yet, but I reckon Google Plus is a significant platform now, and I think people should embed everything because it's tied in with your local with your Google Places, and it's also tied in with the authorship signals. So we'll definitely ensure that as a quality signal, as a trust signal, you set up and verify authorship, make that work on your site, make sure it's part of your CMS, you don't have to do it manually. In terms of on-site, the biggest advice is canonicalize, trim, merge into rich, high quality content pages. And of course, implement rich snippets. Take advantage of that. Of course, don't spam it. And finally, in terms of links, run your risk assessment and clean up any bad stuff. And of course, invest in great content. That's a no-brainer. Technical tips. I see a lot of people letting Google crawl and index too deep into their faceted navigation. And I'm seeing people go way too much into tagging, and so you're basically bloating Google's index. You're creating all these pages. So what I'm saying is you have 4,000 products and you have 400,000 pages. How can that be? Really? Have you seen cases like that? Has anyone seen a website that may have 400,000 pages or 1 million or 6 million pages? Yeah, pretty much. Tony says every day. Yeah, exactly. Mark's guessing right what type of site that is. But the thing is, you can't like with Panda, you can't afford to just pump out these low quality pages with so few products. Or 4,000 is not few, 4,000 is plenty, but that's where the problems arise. So looking at this one here, that's a subcategory, that's a subcategory, and I'm expanding each one of these squares into more categories. As you can see on this structure here. Oh, sorry, I need to share my screen, don't I? Okay, here we go. So this is that. I think it's called. Mark, do you remember we talked about this one? What is this program called? Power Mapper. Yeah. So website, I think it's called Power Mapper. So basically, we started off not with the home page. We started with the sub page, and this is the categories. This is the pages that page links to, and one of the links out to all these. And as you can see, as we grow, as we dig further into this site's architecture, it keeps growing. It's not narrowing, it keeps growing. And deeper you go with this program, you're finding out that it just keeps going forever. So the website architecture of this particular website is infinite. It keeps enlarging, it keeps going further and further and further until this poor piece of software actually crashes because it can't handle it. Something like Gephi and a combination of Gephi and 80 legs might handle it, but Power Mapper definitely will not. But by the time the Power Mapper actually crashes, you know you have a problem with your website's architecture. So here are your best friends. Webmaster's best friends. If you're serving content in different geo or language regions, use the alternate href-lang. If you're using auto-paginated content, rel, next, and prev. If you've got pages that have URL parameters which don't change the page's content, you can canonicalize that into a single URL version, or you can also use Google Webmaster's tools to play with the URL parameters settings in there and tell Google which particular URL parameter doesn't affect the page's content. For example, and ampersand color equals blue. That might change the background color of the page, but it doesn't change the page's content. You can solve that in Google Webmaster's tools or just by canonicalizing that particular URL or that page. And of course, if you have a lot of stuff like tags and faceted navigation, you can simply no-index this page, so it's not included in Google's index. It's not returned in search, but followed. So if there should happen to be a link pointing to that page for whatever reason, that page rank, that link juice still flows throughout your site. So that's a good strategy to use no-index follow. Of course, 301ing stuff. to move any pages you've actually deleted. Sometimes it's useful to leave a 404. I'm hearing a lot of, this is one thing that I'm hearing a lot. Oh, if you have a lot of broken pages, a lot of 404 pages on your site, that's bad because Google's going to penalize you. No, they're not. If you have a lot of 404 pages, that means that those pages are not there anymore. And Google likes to know that. That's useful. You can even, I think you can use 410, right? To tell them that that page is never coming back. So I argue that, 404 is useful, but I guess if somebody used to link to that page, you need to understand that, perhaps you can 301 to an equivalent page or its category or so. I've got a question from Mark. Remember, I clarified that with Google Dan during reconsideration request. Oh yeah, 404s, definitely. So if you've got bad links pointing in, if you cut that page off, if it's returning a valid, not soft 404 but valid 404, any bad links should be discounted. They're not part of your website's link profile anymore. And so it's happened. I've heard a story from one of the participants in the chat. They've actually done a re-inclusion request, and somebody from Google's web spam team has said, "Oh no, you still got bad links," and then the web spam team had to be reminded that links pointing to 404 pages should not be counting towards your manual action. So it seems like sometimes there's a lot of them there, so sometimes they may need to be reminded of that, because they definitely should not be counted in. So I think we've sort of come to an end of this little, I guess, presentation part. I guess we can unlock our microphones and maybe go into a discussion. Has anyone had a successful recovery from either Panda or Penguin? I'd love to hear about that.
Hi Dan, how you doing?
Good, mate.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I've had 2 recoveries.
Two recoveries. Nice.
2 recoveries. One was fairly quick. The other one did take 4 months to get sorted. But it was a larger site, and it had been passed down from bad SEOs to bad SEOs to bad SEOs, and eventually it was up to me to clean it up. So that took longer because I didn't know where the links were. You had to search for them, you had to send your emails, you had to whois. A lot of them were, domained by proxy, so it was really time consuming to request removals on the longer one. But the first one was quite an easy job. Cleaned up the site, and they were happy.
Okay, so they were both affected by Penguin.
Yeah, specifically on links, just really bad links.
Yeah. What were the type of links that you actually ended up removing, and which were the type of links you ended up keeping?
Like you said initially in our typing, you can see what's a bad link and what's a good link. But the one I inherited, it was quite a bizarre situation because the head office was based in Austria, and they had got into their head that article marketing was, and they'd been doing it for years. So literally, we're looking at almost 14,000 article marketing links coming in.
Wow.
Onto this one site. So that was the predominant one. But of course, removing those is just impossible because you get syndication sites. So if you write an article and syndicate it, then you need to track down who they've syndicated it out to. So that could have been picked up by any number of people. Then of course, there are innocent people out there looking for content who then copy that, and then you've still got to trace them down. The hardest one I've found to try and get removals is from people who've used Google's own Blogspot, because you can't get a who is on Blogspot.
So you can't get to contact details of these people.
You can't get to contact them, and if they haven't put an email address on their blog, Google won't tell you who they are. Because I've emailed countless times to say, listen, how do I get this? And I've never had a sort of an answer from it. So those are the hardest ones, is Google's own Blogspot.
Yeah, that's a nasty one, because well, typically you'll find Twitter or a social profile. Maybe you can find a profile and ping them on the social network.
Yeah, you're lucky if you can. But a lot of them are just small blogs where someone's, let's say, done a cat blog because they like cats, and then occasionally they come across an article from a vet, and then they copied it off a syndicated site, and then they get used to that in the sense as, oh, this is nice content, and then they get and they build up, and you'll be, there's some blog spots out there just riddled with syndicated content, which you've got to track down.
I would argue that article marketing is not a bad thing. I don't think article marketing is against Google's guidelines, quality guidelines. It's what we did with article marketing. I remember 5-6 years ago, I would write an article and I would you put exactly the keyword that I want to rank for in the article. That's the problem. If you create an article and it reads well, it's useful to people, and it links out to this and that and all the other useful places, and as part of that links to some page that's also contextually valid on your site, not necessarily using the keyword and manipulative link tactics, I think that article would not penalize you, no matter what quantities and whatever you've done. So I think if you can invent a time machine and go back and hit yourself in the head before doing that, yeah. So, but the thing, this is part of initial part of my presentation that I didn't actually record. Basically, it was working well for other people, so others just followed, and nobody got penalized for a while. So now that the damage has already been done, some people already penalized. So Pandas basically and Penguin, they're catching everything. They're not looking at your fresh links. They'll look stuff that you've done 10 years ago, 5 years ago. So all the things that used to work as tactics are now penalizing you, right? So kind of not fair, but that's why I'm saying, remember that complicated diagram that I showed? No matter which way, whether you're affected or whether you're not, whether you've received the link warning or not, I think it still leads you to a path of some sort of link analysis and making sure that you're protected. I think that's an important thing to do. I'll share one horror story with you that happened to me, and I only discovered it last week. What happened is I had this directory. It was a nice local directory where businesses can. It was Australian based. Businesses can enter their details in there, and I think the idea was that for them to feature higher on the directory or something like that, they had to copy paste this code and put it somewhere on their website to validate that listing. Once they do that, their listing will be treated a little bit higher. You know what was in the code?
Yeah.
It was Dejan SEO, and then keyword anchor text SEO. So basically, I forgot about this. I've done this a long time ago. And I forgot about it. So I was scanning. This is another tip: scan your Google Webmasters Tools for fresh links, because now they have dates. And I have a query that I run pretty much every day, that any mention of my brand, any mention of my URL, and also I've built a little tool that scans the analytics and scans the raw server log files and tells me when a new site has linked to me for the first time. So this guy's linking to me for the first time. Let's check it out. Let's investigate. So on a daily basis, I go and investigate the links pointing in. So it happens to be this young SEO from Brisbane who's just started. He was submitting himself in all these local directories, and he found my own, and he put that code to verify his listing and then he removed it afterwards. So I figure out that people found a way to cheat their way. So they put my code in there, they verify themselves, and then they remove the code. And I'm grateful for that, because I probably didn't get any links, because probably everyone deleted them, right? So it's kind of lucky, but you can see how things that you thought were clever a long time ago can bite you back and hurt you in the long run. So I think it's important to, whatever you're doing with links, whatever you're doing with ideas, including guest blogging and even infographics and widgets, I think it's a good idea to document things and write things down. If you've organized for your infographic to sit on somebody's website, write down their contact details and an email or something like that. Because what if Google says one day, "Oh, infographics, we can see what you've done with them, SEO guys." If you're using your exact match anchor text for the keyword that you're trying to rank and it's part of your infographic, now it's no longer allowed. Now it can be penalized. Can you get back to that guy now? I think that's the idea. So I think good record keeping. Treat your links as your assets, and be pedantic. But I think the best thing, definitely the best thing you can do is just you push out good content, you network, and you promote it through social circles, and links happen naturally. You don't get many, but when they happen, they're natural, and there's nothing you have to worry about, right? Who's had success doing that? There's a big I know. Sometimes people say, "Oh, okay." Ren Fishkin writes on his blog, "Hey guys, just ask people to do this, and they'll do it. Look, I'm doing it," and he's got like 500,000 followers, right? It's a different story for him and a different story for us normal people.
Yeah, but SEO Moz, there was that whole thing where they were saying, it came up and we said, well, you can just go out and buy sort of these, 10,000 really dodgy links for $40 and point them to your competitor's site. And SEO Moz was, no, it won't affect you, And of course they laid down the gauntlet and said, okay, throw as many dodgy links as you can at us. And about, 30 days later, they received an official warning in their webmaster tools. So yes, you can. I don't think their site traffic was affected.
No.
Obviously, because they have a little bit more clout, and they could go and say, well, this was a test and whatever. But yes, if that was an ordinary site, it would have been affected, I believe.
I think their site traffic was affected.
Was it?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just looking for a Google Trends graph now. I think there's a bit of a drop in that.
Ah, right. They say it wasn't affected, but the point is they had to go and clean up. You still got to go and clean it up. So basically, for $40, you can kill a competitor.
I don't know if, I think with
a smaller competitor, yes.
Sorry, Trey, what was that?
I said a smaller competitor, yeah, you could probably kill them real quick, but a larger one, it'd take a lot more than $40.
Oh, yeah. No, sure, definitely. But, if you got, some really, a combination of some comment spam for, or Fiverr, you've got some really bad directory links or, someone else for another tenner, and yes, it would take a bit more, but that's the thing, obviously, if somebody was out there, and I suspect this is going to happen a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay, so remember I talked about I had a look that I was sent an actual link network by email. So this is what I've actually done with it. So let's see. Can you guys see this? So it's a little bit it's a little bit small here. I'm not here to sort of expose anyone or do anything like that. I'll do a 1 second snapshot of the actual data. There you go, and back. So it's real data, real websites, and what you can do with this basically is once you have this collection of sites, they're all clustered together right now. But what I did here, I ran a PageRank calculation on this to see the PageRank distribution of these websites, and I've used the sizing factor to scale the size of the nodes, and I've colored them accordingly as well. So then with this collection, you can use a different transformation methods. For example, if I use the ARF method and I run this, you can see this network transforming in real time. This should end up looking a little bit circular. And you can basically, I'm going to stop this now because I think that's enough. You can basically figure out what links to what, and you can select. So I've just highlighted over one, and we can actually see which one that one's connected with. So basically, within any 2-3 steps, they're all connected. They're all connected together, right? And this is the type of information that, obviously not in a visual sense, but in a sort of a graph senses that Google has. So I can reset this and use a different transformation. For example, you find who's multi-level, which is quite handy. And here we can see clusters of these websites and little subnets, how they're all linking to each other. Basically, if you happen to if this little cluster here, all interlinked websites, if they all happen to link to your website, you're pretty much flagged. And if this is the source of the source of your link building, you're crazy. There's no way that Google can not notice this. This is so, like, we can play with this. Another, I guess, this particular layout is particularly useful for determining relationships. And you can already see when things cluster together, right? This one and one more transformation that's quite handy is, of course, Force Atlas, which is a very common one. There we go. So again, we're finding different clusters here.
Talking about Google not noticing, with a recon request, and they ask you to send in your efforts. If you send in, a massive list of pages where you've removed that, do you think that goes into a big list? So that because of course there's other people on those pages, and then they start looking at their profiles. I mean, do you think they?
Yeah, I think they already have that list. I don't think they need us to feed that list to them. I think they already know.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you one thing. In recent discussions, somebody asked, I think it was Matt Katz actually, explaining when PageRank is actually reduced for a website, right? And say, for example, you have a PageRank 6 website, and that website decides to sell links, receives money, links out to other people, does that for a long time. All of a sudden, Google catches them selling links, and 30% of that PageRank is gone. So that website is suddenly, say, PageRank 4 instead. Now, all the websites linked out from the website that's been flagged for selling links, Google already knows that they bought they're the sites who have links on the website that sells links, right? They can't tell for sure, but if they notice, one instance, two instances, three instances, and if that's your strategy, how easy for them is to figure out, okay, this guy, he's basing his entire link building strategy on buying links. We're going to take manual action on them. So if you happen to have a few, and you're not affecting like in a big deal, they might just go, oh yeah, we can see what he's doing. He's paying $50 for that link. We're just going to ignore that, so your money's basically wasted. So basically, as soon as they figure out one offender, all those links, I believe, go somewhere. There's some relationship there. And that's why it's so hard to cheat these days, and it's going to become more and more difficult as we go.
Mm-hmm. And theoretically, they'll follow it back to your site, and then from your site, follow it back to other pages, and so they create themselves an entire massive network of offenders, really.
Yeah, but they already have, like, they're not creating a new network. They already have the linked graph in their database. But they're probably tagging or flagging or, annotating certain things, adding values and properties to it. And that's exactly, we're getting to the core of what Penguin is. Basically an algorithm that runs on the existing link graph and finds anything that shows clear patterns of manipulation and targets it. So we know that anchor text is a signal. We know that buying links from known link sellers is a signal. That any sort of any clue that they can have can be used. So, and you make a very good point. If they detect a website that sells links, and they connect to your website through that because your link is there, they can go to your website and analyze which links you have and find more link sellers because you're a link buyer, especially if you're doing it on a mass scale. You can not only wear a penalty yourself or wear a manual action yourself, but you're also allowing Google to discover a lot more good stuff, bad stuff.
Yeah.
So it's really, Carol says buy links for competitors. You know what the problem is? I thought about this as well, as a concept. What you would do is you would need to buy links consistently over a period of time to show that linking pattern of bought links. You would need to spend, $50,000, $100,000 in link purchases over 6 months or a year or whatever. Help them rank, help them outrank you, make them a lot of money, and then when they, in 2-3 months, do a reconsideration request, they get out of jail, they're back up in results. What have you done? You've pretty much wasted a lot of money and time and helped them rank and grow their business. Because link manipulation works, but it's unsafe. It's a risky strategy. So you would literally be helping them. Why would you do that? Does that make sense? I'm
sorry to interrupt, but links are only one thing they can do to you. There's other things that they can do to you that can have a demonstrable effect almost immediately, to completely tank you.
Are you looking at SEO Moses traffic there to see if they've dropped?
Yeah, I put that up for you, yeah, to show you. It has dropped. Yeah.
It looks like a seasonal trend to me. It doesn't look like... it's dropped a little bit, but maybe we can ask. I'm sure they'll tell us. Those guys are pretty transparent. They'll tell us if we ask.
Well, if I was Google, I'd be propping them up.
We know for a fact that SEOs haven't been buying links, doing anything manipulative. Why would they? They have enough popularity to leverage off. Yeah. So cool. I think that's nice. That's nice. I like to hear that teams manage to repair 2 websites. That means that there's hope for everyone else who's been affected. A lot of people are panicking. Has anyone else who's successfully done a reconsideration request in the chat here?
I never had to do a reconsideration request. I just changed the things I found, figured out what was bad or what Penguin was looking at. In my case, I had site-wide links on one site that pointed to another one, and I also had over 65% with the exact same words in the anchor text. So I diversified the anchor text, got rid of the site-wide links, and my traffic almost fully returned at that point, and it was like within 3 days.
So we're looking at a case of Google has seen some unnatural links that they didn't trust, so they've filtered out those links only, but they retained the trust to your site as a whole. It was never compromised entirely.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think it really was, because my traffic dropped about 45%, and I've recovered about 40% of that.
Yeah, yeah. That's actually a pretty severe. I would almost say that that's like a proper manual action, or maybe algorithmic. Because
exactly, I think it was algorithmic. I don't believe, because it happened so quickly afterwards, but it was also a gradual return. In other words, I get about 25% of my site visited by the Googlebot every single day. So I can do a complete site change and republish the whole thing, and within 3 or 4 or 5 days, Google has my entire site re-indexed.
Yeah, but does it have the capacity to re-index all those links as quickly? You know, if you have some obscure links on really old pages that don't get much bot visits, to reconsider, for reconsideration request to be, for algorithmic penalty to sort of fizzle out, I think those links would have to be crawled to see that they're different or new. Or...
Right. These were my links on my sites.
Oh, right.
So when they re-index when they visit my site and they do 25% over 4 or 5 days, basically I think they've re-indexed my entire site.
Yeah.
Even my real low pages where you have to go down 4 or 5 clicks from the home page to find it, it still gets re-indexed about once a week. So it only takes about a week for them to see what I've done. But yeah, I believe it was an algorithmic penalty and then an algorithmic recovery.
Yeah, or algorithmic treatment filter, not really a penalty.
Yeah, I think that's a proper term for it. A penalty is when they sit there and look at your site and go, yeah, you bad, click.
Yeah. I think to do with links and, Jim had a point. You got to unmute yourself first.
Sorry for that. No, I just wanted to. Sorry to interrupt, Dan, but I just wanted to ask Trey if the site-wide links he had were follow or no follow.
They were just links. They didn't have a no follow or follow on them whatsoever. I totally removed them and just linked from one site to the other site from the home page only.
Thank you.
One thing I was going to ask Carol, actually, or maybe Tomasz, since you were both in the Hangout. You asked John in the latest Hangout about link change, if I understood the translation from Polish correctly. So if you have a link and it says Bob, and if you change that anchor text to say click here, is that a new link in Google's eyes? And the answer was yes, right? Cool. Okay, so it's correct, but I think you also added something like that won't really help you, or what was the comment? It's a completely new link if it has new anchor text, but it won't help you rank, or what was the afterthought to that? Do you remember?
Google's John Miller said that it won't help you to rank higher, but and history of the link is totally zero from change, but I think it could help.
Okay, yeah. So what Trey was saying, he went and he had some maybe manipulative links in terms of anchor text, and he fixed those up. So he's not having such a homogeneous anchor text link profile, and that that helped. Because and this makes sense now, what you've learned yesterday, or when was this, that if you change anchor text, that's a new link. So Google reindexes that, and old link is gone, a new link is there. So
would you really consider that a new link, or just a new valuation of the link based on the new anchor text?
They say completely new link. I don't know. I literally read a translation of the summary that guys did over in Poland from chats with in the Google's Hangout, and it seems like it's a new link.
Oh wow, that's odd, because if I have a page and I link to another page, that's the link, and the link is URL to URL. But what's in the anchor text, if that changes on a daily basis, are they saying that's a new link on a daily basis? Or is that just a, hey, on a daily basis, or every time the Googlebot actually crawls and notices that your anchor text changes, that's when it starts changing their evaluation or their ranking algorithm or their whatever.
Yeah.
I still don't think it changes how much page rank, link juice, whatever you want to call it. I don't think that changes any, because if that's the case, if you change something every single day, you're going to get brand new links every single day, and your link value goes up. I think that I'm thinking it's the same link. It still passes on the same value if nothing else changes, like you didn't add like 400 links on that page. You had 50 links on that page, and only one of them pointed to this one other page. You get that 1/50th value of whatever your page value ranks, and 1/50 of whatever that value is passed on as link juice stays the same, but what your page ranked for might change based on what's in the anchor text. And again, I may be wrong.
Yeah, I think it's obviously it's not a new link. We're changing one property of a link, but I think it's a little bit like Star Trek. You go into the beam me up machine. I don't know what the term is. If anyone can correct me. So you go in it, it dissolves you, the person is gone, and then rematerializes elsewhere, right? If I go into that machine and I reappear with blue eyes or a new T-shirt, it's still me. It's just it's recreating the same link with a different property.
Exactly.
I think that's exactly the same thing. So Mark Lindsay says nanoparticle atomizer. Okay, thanks for that. Cool. All right. Well, it looks like we've gone 15 minutes over overtime. Unless there are any cool stories that you guys want to share with us, we might cut off here and maybe resume next Thursday. Jim,
I have a request, Dan. I'd like to get a solid statement so that I can answer a query I constantly get. And that's why I asked Trey before. Site-wide links, and it's almost a penguin question.
Yeah.
Site-wide links that are no-followed, I'm saying that they cannot hurt you in any way, shape, or form. Doesn't matter if they're site-wide or in the text or what. Am I wrong?
Exactly. If you have a site-wide link, why is everyone panicking about site-wide link? What's the deal with site-wide links? I don't see what the deal is. They're perfectly natural and normal in some situations. But the problem is if you've paid for that link, if you try to manipulate anchor text, like if you're a web design company, for example, and if you have a do-follow link that's site-wide in the footer that says web design and then your company name, there's a problem. But if you have your company name linked, that's fine. Likewise, if you're part of a blog roll, that's perfectly normal. But if you've paid for that blog roll, if you're using a manipulative anchor text and it's site-wide, then that's a problem, right? Site-wide links in general, even if they do follow, they're normal pattern on the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
thank you, Dan.
In my case, it was a site-wide link on domain A that pointed to a site or a page on domain B. And then on domain B, I had site-wide links on domain B that pointed back to a page or a single page on site A again. in that case, I think it hurts. I also think if you have site-wide links on a domain that doesn't, like in a blog roll or something like that, because I'm investigating that in one of my my inbound links. I'm thinking a site that has 3,000 pages has me on a blog roll, and in one case I think it's okay because their site is similar to mine. They're related. They're similar to mine. But I also see on another site that this particular site has nothing to do with anything that I do on my site, and I think that may be where it might be hurting me a little bit.
Yeah, contextual or topical relevance and connection. But I think more importantly, what was the anchor text that was used from site A to B, site-wide? That's more of a question than just the presence of that link. You know, that's a key factor, I think, if it's manipulative or not. If you just link the URL to URL or brand name to brand name or to the page, I don't think that's so much of an issue. I don't know, but I think a lot of people are unnecessarily panicking about site-wide links if they're natural. One thing to add though is if you have a bunch of sites of your own, I'm not talking hundreds of thousands or thousands of websites. I'm talking if you have 3, 4, or 10 websites of your own. If you're running a family, three. If you're running a family of websites and you link one to another, but one does shoes, one does pets, and one does lawyers. You know, it's totally different, unrelated. I think a good practice to do in that case is to provide disclosure. So basically, to some page, some sort of statement where, you know, even if somebody from quality team goes and reads, what is the relationship between these websites? So I think disclosure statement on the site or sites that are linking to each other is basically helpful. So if someone should investigate, why are these 3 links there? Oh yeah, so they're owned by the same business owner. And big news networks do that, right? All the big newspapers and news houses, they're all linked to each other, no matter, you know, they do totally different things. One reports on science, one reports on this. They're all linking to each other. They're not topically relevant. But there's that disclosure. They probably have an About Us page which lists all their brands on that one page. I think that's perfectly natural. I don't think we have to worry about that. Yeah. So was there any questions in the chat? Oh my God, we had like a good discussion happening parallel to this. We're supposed to be a hangout. You guys are supposed to join in and talk. So we record this stuff. Okay, well, let me see. Dan, somebody's tagging spam here. I'm going to kick him out of the hangout soon. Dan, I'd like to. What is this? Do a for and against hangout with you for URLs structuring sometimes. Yeah, sounds like a good idea. What else do we have? And if you but partial match anchor text. What is this? Oh no, there's more to it. Can you explain that, Carol? If you buy partial match anchor text on blog, here you go. It's like you didn't listen what we were saying. They know when somebody's bought a link, they devalue their page rank. Yes, it's Maria. That's a new saying. Oh God. Okay, so basically what you're saying is if I buy links and I change anchor text so it doesn't look manipulative, okay, yeah, you may be tricking Google for now, but every next iteration of the algorithm could catch you. Basically, they know who's selling links, they know who's buying links, and they can look at this relationship.
I think they know who's selling links more than who's buying them. But once they know who's selling them, and then they look at their site, they figure out real quick who's buying them. So you can diversify all you want. There is a pattern that they can see.
Exactly. It's linked. We're talking about linked data, and this is what Google thrives on. They love linked data. That's how they work. That's how they think. Think like a graph. What do they? There's a research paper written by Google. Does anyone remember it? I think it's think like a vertex or graph or something like that. All right, I think I got it. I think this is your read. I might post the URL later on for those who are just watching.
Google actually published a YouTube video at one time that I was privy to stumble across. It was actually a YouTube video of their search team discussing different things, and it was really interesting to listen to the level of detail that these guys were arguing over little itty-bitty points.
Oh, yes.
It really was.
It was a Google breakfast, wasn't it? Or something like that.
I don't know. All I know is that there's a big table, all the big wigs from Matt Cutts and his boss.
Ahmed Singhal was there.
And then you see all the guys behind them, 2 and 3 levels deep, in chairs, fold-up chairs, and every single one of them had laptops open.
Yep.
And they were all doing stuff at the same time, and they were just discussing things, just talking out loud and whatever else. And that's when I was like looking at, that's when I learned that, hey, it's no longer cool to go after 2-word search terms, because most people search in 4.3 search terms at a time. So I started going after longer tail keywords at that point. And this was only like 5-6 months ago.
Yeah. I'm totally impressed with the level of with the depth that they go. I think one of the guys from the previous Hangout, Enrico Altavilla, he suggested I read for those who really want to get into their search and how search engines work. He recommends a book called Modern Information Retrieval. I'm dropping the link in the Hangout chat there, and I'll put it on the page for those who are just watching. There's the second edition of the page, a little bit more up to date, because this one is quite old, which goes in detail as to how information retrieval and indexing and all that works. It's they promise it's a really really exciting read, at least for those of us who are interested in the theory. So basically, here's okay. I'm going to share my screen for a sec. Okay. So this is the article I was talking about. Think like a vertex column parallel collection. This paper was published by Google a while ago, I think. I can't remember the year. I think it was 2010, I believe. Where they talk about link graph, parallel processing. They're talking about, I think even pre-gel framework gets mentioned in here. Which is sort of steps, basically supercomputing, calculating graphs, processing the information, and they talk. There's PageRank and the limitations of calculation of PageRank that they had and how they've improved it. And I think a lot of what they've done and what was discussed in here we've seen in the caffeine update. I love this one, delta stepping, parallelization of Dijkstra's SSSP algorithm. What a mouthful. I read up a little bit on that, and I didn't understand it, unfortunately. But I did understand a lot of
Martin on him.
Exactly. I did understand the visual part of it. So basically, they've done a lot of optimization on this level. So basically, if you have two collections, red, green, and purple, are different records. They're proposing. Actually, I actually think I've done a similar. I've done a paper of my own, kind of trying to digest and summarize what they've done. It's this one here, Relationships in Large-Scale Graph Computing. And I think I covered, I've done it, yeah, exactly, in 3D Max. I've done a much cooler version of what they were trying to say. So basically, you've got two of these record sets, and there's R1 here and R2 there. So basically what they do is they consolidate it like that for faster processing. And reading a little bit like this, I think reading through these type of papers just shows you how stupid we are thinking that we can get away with our little schemes for the long term, because there's not just so much intellectual work gone into this, but also processing power. Basically, okay, so the question is, you go buy links on these blogs, and you put different anchor text to make it look, but they already know the blogs, they know who's buying, they know who's selling, they have all these interconnections. It's just futile. It's just futile. But this is perhaps too much theory. I'm also unprepared to think and talk about this. I think we might get one of the Googlers to join us in and explain this. It might be an exciting, for some of us, this exciting discussion. Are there any questions from the chat? Because there was like heaps of talk in there. Unless there are any questions people want to ask, I think we might actually wrap up, because we've been going for an hour and a half now again. Carol asked me to tell Jesus Maria. Do you guys know what that is? It's like Jesus Mary or something like that. What they say in Poland when someone does something crazy, or okay.
You can tell "Oh my God" with a link, Jesus Maria.
Yeah, it's "Oh my God." All right. So Carol thinks he can cheat, and I'm saying "Oh my God." I'm saying Jesus Maria. Yeah. Yeah. They say Jesus Maria in Croatia. There you go. It's all connected. Hey, we've got Dalen here, who joined us, I think, a little bit late with his puppy.
Yeah, she loves search, this one.
You let her surf Google?
Yeah, oh, she's more Bing, but she's one of those cool kids.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. Sorry I was late, mate.
It's all good. It's all good. All right. So, any suggestions for the next Hangout? Like, I think we've done a little bit of link building, some basic stuff. We've done technical Hangout with the Q&A, asking question, quiz style. We've done Panda Penguin. What should we do next? What do you reckon is a good topic for the next week's Hangout?
Authority and ranking.
Authority.
Authorship, I'm sorry.
Oh, right. Authorship. Okay. That's a good one.
Authorship and influence because of authorship. There's a lot of talk about it, but to see it in practice, I think no one's really done that well yet.
Okay. I don't think it's going to be a very long Hangout, because I don't think authorship influences rankings just yet.
I think it does. Not necessarily influences ranking, but certainly influences the click-through.
Of course, in a big way. Yeah. I can tell you, because I'm looking at my own data. And it does really make a big difference when there's a little picture of the author, especially if the author has a lot of followers on Google+. You can see if somebody's got like 10,000, 20,000, 500,000 followers, right? People think, oh wow, that's a trustworthy author. If you're looking at somebody who has like 200 followers and their authorship is still, they might think, okay. So notice the subtle difference there, but of course, just the sheer pure presence of the thumbnail there, it's just so much more interesting to click on. Yeah.
Well, even if it's down on position 10, it can draw clicks. It's a big advantage if you can get it to happen.
Yeah. Okay. Authorship.
Well, it's really huge.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, actually, anything that has to do with rich snippets.
Rich snippets.
Whether you have the ranking thing, the little stars, or you have a picture of your product, or you actually have prices of your product and stuff like that. All of the rich snippet stuff has, according to people who test it, I just listen to what all they do, but I've heard as much. I've heard the consensus is right around 27% more click-through rate.
Yeah, cool. Well, we can have a look at the data. What I'm going to do is I'm going to collect my own data from my Google Webmasters tools, and if anyone else has authorship verified and going, I'd appreciate some sharing. If you can bring, excellent, thanks Jim. If you can bring in some slides or screenshots or a live Google Webmasters tools overview, that would be really awesome. If we can go over that and compare the performance of our authorship markup and any rich snippets in general. I haven't got any examples I can show. It's only our clients, and I don't want to share that data publicly, of course. So I can show you what's in our Google Webmasters tools of our own websites, but there's not much in terms of like reviews or. But we've done something interesting recently with events. So Google Hangouts that we do now actually are going to have rich snippet markup. So we'll bring that up next Hangout. That's a great idea. Okay. So next one we're going to do rich snippets, authorship, and things like that. Maybe we even touch on author rank, which questionable. Yeah. So we'll see. Fantastic idea. All right. Thanks everyone for joining in. Hope it was fun. Hope it was educational. Maybe. And catch you next Thursday. We'll be discussing author rank and authorship and rich snippets. Thanks, guys.
Excellent.
See you guys.
See you, Dan.